Most people believe that marijuana abuse is the major problem for students at Rhodes University. However, a well-known prescription drug is becoming the new trend. A drug usually used for studying and concentration is now being used for recreation.
It's like a short rush.
I just sort of felt not quite normal, but just buzzed, on top of things.
My best nights have been on was great, I'll be honest.
And it just goes straight to your head. It feels good. Makes you feel like golden guy.
And that's really what it was about. It was being happy and having this drunk feeling, but being so sharp and on point, able to talk to people, talk to girls, talk to guys, and being the life of the party.
It takes about 15 minutes to hit, but you just start feeling sort of energetic and just sort of all over the place, like hyper, like you're twitching, like you can't sit still at all. You want to look around at everything, you want to touch everything, you want to see everything, you just want to keep moving, like you just keep talking and talking and talking and you can't stop.
Ritalin, a psychostimulant drug normally prescribed to people with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, is now gaining popularity as a party drug. In South Africa, drugs are controlled through a schedule system from 0 to 7.
From Schedule 3 upwards, you need a doctor's prescription. And so, of course, it gets increasingly strict. Ritalin is a Schedule 6 medicine. It's quite strictly controlled, yeah, or in fact, very strictly controlled. Yeah.
Well, Ritalin is an amphetamine. It's in the same class as drugs like, for example, cocaine, in the same broad class. And it releases adrenaline and other excitatory, stimulatory transmitters in the brain. And so, as does cocaine. So it can cause a feeling of well-being in some people, a feeling of euphoria. Of course, the stimulants also help one with one's concentration.
Gabby Philanger, a journalist from Grocot's Mail, recently wrote a story which dealt with the Ritalin issue within student circles.
Well, basically, I did a story on Ritalin. I'd heard about sort of the study use of Ritalin by people who haven't been prescribed it, and the way that they will get their hands on it from friends or whatever, and use it just during an exam period or if they have a big essay due or something. But I also then started becoming aware of people using it as a party drug, a recreational drug. So almost like they compare it to cocaine, but obviously it isn't as extreme, and it's administered in the same way as snorting it. And I think when I became aware of that, I realized, that it's a potential problem, and it seems to be quite common. And as soon as I became aware of it, I started coming across it more and more and more. So I decided to investigate it.
Gabby's article posed the question, if this drug is so highly controlled, how do students buy it? Deals work on a who-you-know basis. We set up one in a residence at Rhodes University with relative ease.
You get to know friends through friends, sort of just, this person has a prescription, and they're selling it. And I suppose you get to know people who already sort of have to take it, but would rather sell it than take it,
And the ease, it's so easy. Like in residence last year, I was struggling during exams, and this guy was like, I'm going to take I have some Rit. Why don't you ask this guy? Or ask this guy, oh, this guy's out of Rit. Ask this guy. He has his tablet. Oh, he only has 5 left. Ask the other guy. And it was so easy. And if need be, you could even pay for it if a friend wouldn't give you one just offhand. But the prevalence of it at Rhodes University is ridiculous. For such a schedule, whatever drugs, it's such a drug that's so hard to come by. The prevalence of its prescription, everyone has a prescription, it seems.
I know a lot of people take it when they're studying or when they're writing exams. That's when it's super bad, when people are just popping Ritalin left, right, and center.
Dealers get their supply from prescriptions given to them by local doctors, which they use in order to purchase the drug from pharmacies. This is arguably the only legal part of their operation. Doctors give prescriptions to students who say they cannot concentrate.
The doctor can only issue a month's supply at a time, and he also is obliged, as with any prescription, he's obliged to keep a record of the prescriptions that he's given. So when prescription is issued, one has to then keep a record in the file as to, who's been given what and how much of it. It's a very difficult, very subjective test. Often what I do is I check whether the people actually need it and whether the Ritalin helps them or not before I issue a prescription like that. There's no hard and fast test.
What are the legal ramifications of selling prescription drugs? Authorities find it hard to control, and students can have multiple prescriptions while still being under the radar. We spoke to Captain Governor from Grahamstown Police, and she said the police have no recorded cases regarding illegal prescription drug selling. Students are obviously finding ways to manipulate local doctors.
Students can lie, they can say no, and there's nothing that one can do to prevent that except to keep a close, accurate record of the amount of prescriptions that you're issuing and to certain students who you are issuing them to, and then just keeping an eye on who's coming too often, who's suddenly needing more, that sort of stuff.
So I can only imagine that they're trying to hoodwink the doctors, and sometimes doctors are hoodwinked quite easily, and they prescribe it.
Recreational users snort the drug up their nose using a straw or a folded note. However, before this is done, the drug is crushed from its pill form into a powder and then sorted into lines. The similarities to cocaine are unmistakable.
Dude, you either if you get it in a pull, you crush it up, or if you get it in a cap, you unscrew the cap. And if you get little beads, I think slow release Ritalin, because you get fast release and slow release. I think the slow release are in little beads in the cap, so you got to crush those up. Crushing is important. And then you get a straw, a banknote, and send it straight up your nose.
There is seemingly no control over the situation. Students are not aware of the dangers of this drug. However, some do have stories of how it has affected them negatively.
I was sent home earlier this year for a mental breakdown, and that was after one of, the big nights at Rhodes. We had all, been drinking a lot, and then we got stoned, and then we decided, well, one of my friends was almost passing out. We were going to go get Ritalin to wake him up. And we had that, and after that, I just completely fucked out. I couldn't function. I didn't actually tell anyone who I was sent home that it might have been because of the Ritalin, that it completely messed up. But yeah, then I took it once when I got back. It messed up that again, and I decided after that I can't anymore.
I found that taking it gave me quite a bit of problems with nausea, and also it kind of dulled my senses. I lived every day like I was living a dream.
When you're inhaling it, you're kind of messing around with the dose. You might take all of it or half of it or a little bit of it, and we don't in the end know how much has got absorbed.
First of all, it's not designed to be sniffed, just from the point of view. So one can actually damage your nasal mucosa, the lining of your nose, damage the blood vessels in your nose, get nosebleeds. Second of all, you don't have the slow absorption that you get from the stomach. You have an instant absorption, instant levels going up to your brain, which then exaggerates the side effects. Your heart beats faster, your blood pressure goes up, you feel a little bit more sort of out of it, dissociated. So as I say, you can have, with cocaine specifically, one can get heart attacks. Now, I assume with enough Ritalin, you can as well, because your heart beats so fast, your blood pressure goes up so quickly.
There is a need for the media to inform people about the potential pitfalls of this drug and others like it.
One of the things that I realized after I wrote my story is that someone said to me, "Oh, your story seems as though you're okay with the drug." And I think as journalists, we're taught to be very objective in that. And I try to write that story in a very neutral, matter-of-fact, objective way. And looking back, in hindsight, I think that might actually have been a problem,
The use of Ritalin as a study aid does have its merits. However, its potential to harm cannot be ignored.
I find often everyone says, oh, okay, I'll stop at weed because weed's not a drug, it's natural. And then they're like, okay, weed, how about snuffing a bit of Rit? Because that's not cocaine, but it's a white powder that you suck up your nostril. Surely that's not good for you. It's made in a laboratory.
It's not worth the risk, not worth the sort of after effects that I get from it.
In terms of abuse, I've got no real problem with a guy who needs a little bit and he finds it helps him study, and he takes a pill and it helps him study. I think it's actually safer to that to go and get a prescription from a doctor and to drink 10 glasses of coffee and a bottle of BioPlus, I think. But to sniff this stuff is just plain stupid.